I remember reading this article that you wrote about Nicaragua and also how strong the trade union movement is there. And you're a trade unionist. I'm kind of assuming when you say build these communities that trade unions are very much part of that process, very much part of that structure. One of the problems, though, that we have as an anti-war organization, we're looking at trade unions across Britain that are supporting an increase in military spending. So obviously, this is a trajectory we would like reversed. What do you think, in your opinion, what can be done to build a more internationalist trade union movement and really to reverse that trajectory of more and more war and more military spending?
Yeah, we have to win these unions to the left. And that's dead easy to say and real quick. I don't know how many nanoseconds that took for me to say it, but that's what we have to do. And there's no two ways about it. This is the age old dilemma of trade unionism. Who runs the trade unions? Is it a whole bunch of officials? This has been from day one of the trade union movement, by the way. Day one, right? Who runs the union? Is it a bunch of officials or is it the members? Now, if it's the members, you can't just assume that all the members are, kind of on the left and progressive because, we're not all born that way, right? We learn and we grow, hopefully. And so we've got to find a way of building those cadres. Maybe we could call them, I don't know, communities of resistance within unions, wherever they are. And I've seen it within unions where from small groups of people, you can affect some pretty big change. I talk in the book as well about a small group that's met in my living room, a small group of us, about half a dozen of us, who decided that we need to have a big change in the way that the TUC did race equality work. And six of us met and we went off and we organized within our unions. And the very first TUC, we managed to get a resolution that really fundamentally changed something that was quite important to us, which was the TUC's Black Workers Conference, which was something where we used to get all the great and the good black people from wherever they could find them would come and tell us what we were doing wrong every year. That was the TUC Black Works on. There's no debate. You get Paul Wattengs, you'd get all of these types of people who would come along and say, you need to all calm down, basically, and you need to all do this and listen to us and follow us. And we removed all of that and we had a motion based conference where we could get up and we could use that as a basis to come together and organize as Black trade unionists. But it takes organizing, and the heart of it all, I'm an organizer and I have to think of the best ways of being able to organize. And the message from this book is that you organize where you are in the best way that you can. And even if there's three of you, then that's a start, right? I know years ago in the early 80s, I used to work as a housing officer in Walsall. The strongest group that the whole council was scared of was this organisation called the Walsall Council House Tenants Association. And they could turn like literally hundreds and hundreds of people out to lobby a council meeting if they didn't like it. It was organised by three people, three Communist Party members, basically, that organised this thing. But they were organisers, they knew how to do it, they knew how to organise people around things that mattered to them. And they really tried to develop some politics around it as well. So it wasn't just a bunch of angry people turning up. It was people with an objective and people who understood why they were there and why the decisions that were taken had been taken. So I think that when we're looking at what we need to do to change the trade union movement into something that is going to make a difference, we have to think really carefully about building those small groups that are going to grow. Nigel Flanagan, in an earlier book, talked about what he called spider webbing. So one person knows somebody, that person knows somebody, and then it just grows all over the place. So the more people just contact people that they know, and it's a great way of doing it. And we've seen some big successes in union organizing by doing that in the global south, actually, and places like Kenya. The Kenyan security guards organized in that way, where they became the fastest growing trade union anywhere on the African continent, just because they did this spider webbing organizing. And I think that we have to maybe take a step back, look at some of the lessons that we can learn from elsewhere, because They didn't just change in Kenya and elsewhere that I've seen. They didn't just change so that they could be big and important. They changed their unions so they can make a difference, and that they injected some politics into that. And I think that's what we have to do. Most trade unions in Britain are not political at all, unfortunately. And that's quite deliberate. Been in the leadership. I know what goes on. It's quite deliberate not to have them as political, but I think that that must be our goal, because it's not change for change's sake. It's change so that there can be a fundamental difference in the way that unions behave and act and represent their members.